So I think the key thing we need to worry about is how the production of knowledge helps society. And I think what we've found over the last months, weeks, years is that we're not being effective at communicating either the knowledge we're creating or the degree of authority or expertise that underlies the claims that we make, whether that's in a political setting, a medical setting, or an economic setting. So what open approaches can do to start with is we can provide access to the knowledge in the forms we're already creating it. And we've done a pretty good job of moving down that road. What we clearly need to do a much better job is of communicating that in a way that's open and accessible to a much wider range of people. And I think for me, the shift we need to make is from taking the forms of outputs, research articles, graphs, data sets that we create as a side effect of what we already do, and start thinking about how we listen more through all the stages of the research to the questions that people out in society have. There are lots of challenges. There are challenges of funding, there are challenges of policy, of collaboration, and how technology and the web is changing the way we're doing research. I think the real core challenge, which is stopping us from taking advantage of some of the opportunities, is a calcified evaluation system and assumptions about what makes good research. Because we've bound up questions of what makes good research and what research is for, and yet the problems we're trying to solve are not addressed by the measures and the evaluation systems we use to decide what research is worth rewarding and what research is worth funding. So at the core of it is questions of incentives and evaluation systems, and how those evaluation systems are used to make decisions about what we actually invest in terms of research and knowledge creation. So for me, Denmark has a number of things in its favour. It's a small country, it's a country with a very strong education system, very strong platforms and infrastructures and history and culture of knowledge creation, expertise and research in a range of areas, and maybe some more than others. I think a small country has a limited scale, and so one of the key things is what can you do to connect with other centres of expertise and knowledge creation? And the European Union is one example of doing that, but obviously there are many others. I would also say I think there's a problem, particularly with small countries, in tending to focus on trying to optimise research in the form that it seems that other countries think it is good. And I think it's much more useful to ask a much more nuanced question around what is needed here and how well is it being done. And that means a shift away from bibliometrics and traditional assumptions of what comes out of research. And again, there's lots of innovation in Denmark already, but it's seen as on the outside. And then the other thing that I think is important, and again, this is something where Denmark already has a strong record, is in providing the platforms on which other people can work and innovate. We've heard a lot today about the idea that things need to be not directed from the top, that innovation and particularly unexpected advances come from bottom-up approaches. The problem with a bottom-up approach is how do you bring the people together? How do you create the platforms that make it easy for them to be able to work together and that they can leverage to do stuff at scale? And that means investing in infrastructure and platforms and systems of technological types, but also funding instruments that maybe allow different types of innovation and action, different forms of evaluation, different forms of institutions where people can work. So that's a lot of different things. But the core to me is delivering the platforms that let people explore the possibilities for themselves.